So they're lacking a skill and they're lacking money, both. So they're saying no to both. They're saying, well, I don't know how to have those conversations and I don't have money, so I'm just not going to do it. And the fact that anyone is stopping there is actually the problem. That's why your life doesn't get created. That's why you don't go in a direction you want to go. That's why you don't get what you want. That is why human beings never really truly get what they want in their lives, because it's on the other side of money or enrollment. And if they don't have one or both, they're like, screw it. Hands up in the air. I'm not going to do it.
Okay, that's some real talk from Eileen today on the Fireside Chat. Hello, and welcome to Crushing Classical, redefining a thriving classical music career. On today's Fireside Chat, Eileen and I discuss picking a path in your career and going for it, creating a strategy and a plan, as well as some funny memories from music school days. Let's get started. Hey, Eileen.
Hey, what's happening?
Nothing. Not a lot.
Not a lot. Well, hopefully a lot will be happening here in a minute.
Let's get going.
Let's get moving.
Let's hear a rant from Eileen today.
Today's rant is just the what I see so much, and I don't just see it in musicians, but I'm going to talk about musicians because this is where we are, is this wishy-washy, this avoiding making a decision or taking a clear direction in either school or career or something. And, look, I know that there are people that are in school right now pursuing degrees and they're clear they're going to become a university professor. So they know what their track is. Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about everybody else that isn't doing that, because there's a lot of musicians who are not doing that.
Yeah.
They're not picking a track. And the other thing is, I don't think we know. I think the other confusing part of it is there's no track. So I don't know, you know what I mean? Because look, I've never been to medical school, but I'm assuming that if you want to become an anesthesiologist, there's a track.
Oh, totally, right? And you know exactly what to do next. And that step leads to that step, leads to that step, leads to a residency or whatever they call it. Yep. But like with musicians, okay, what I remember, and now some schools are dabbling and talking about entrepreneurship. Not that that's necessarily a track. Yeah. And I know some people don't even think you can teach entrepreneurship, but what I'm saying is that, like, when you're in music school, you are just gearing your entire activities all toward getting better at your instrument, and there's no talk about what you do next once you get out of school. It's just all about that you have to become this amazing player. You have to fix all your problems in your playing, and it's assumed that you're going to audition, but I don't even remember even talking about auditions in undergrad.
So we could say that what they're doing in school is mastering a craft. So if you're a player, if you're performance, you're mastering your instrument and performing, obviously. And if you are an educator, you're mastering what? Conducting, reading scores. I don't know what all education majors, because I never was one.
I know that they have to learn a lot of
instruments. Yeah, they have to learn, they have to become mildly proficient, correct, on all the instruments, basically?
Yeah. That's for band director. And then I suppose, I don't know really what you do when you're in a doctorate program for, a professor position in a university. I assume you just focus more on the pedagogy of your own instrument so that you can teach it at a higher level. Mm-hmm. But that's still more of a track than performance. Performance is so vague. It's like, performance. What does that mean? Performance where? Performance how? What are you going to do? What kind of music are you going to play? Right. It's so vague. And then I just remember it was sort of assumed by me, because I didn't ask the question. I just assumed that I should have a job like my teacher had.
Right. Right.
And I want to be like him. And he is the first horn in the Chicago Symphony. So that must be what I want.
And I suppose you would have felt differently about that. Well, maybe not you, but you somebody might feel differently about that if their teacher was, a university professor and that was their job and they played in the, local, the city orchestra or the, you know what I'm saying? Like if, let's say they're going to, I don't know, ASU, and their teacher plays in the Phoenix Symphony. I'm making this up, right?
Yeah.
I suppose, you could be a musician, you could be studying with that person and go, okay, so that's their track, so that's going to be my track.
Right.
I just think it's interesting though how what I've seen, what I saw when I was in music school, what I've seen, in the conversations that we've been having with people is how there's no decisions being made. And anytime you've gone to do a talk, which has happened several times recently, anytime you ask people what they're going to do, they're like, I don't know. I mean, the hanging cloud in the air is, I don't really know what I'm going to do. Like they have not,
a lot of I don't knows.
Yeah, they have not figured out where they're going to go after school.
I haven't met very many people who are like, I'm definitely going to kill it on the audition path and I know exactly what kind of position I want and I'm only going for those positions, and in between the time I'm figuring out how to get in that position. Like no one's clear. No one is clear.
Well, and here's what's difficult about not making a decision. What's so difficult, people go, well, I want to try things and see what I like. Yeah. So here's the thing. What's really hard about not making a decision, I'll tell you it's going to make your life hard, and I'll tell you why. Because when you don't go on a track, if who you are is I don't know, and I'm just going to wait until something falls out of the sky and looks good, and I'm just going to take that, what happens is you end up with a lot, like a mishmash of sort of nothing. Like you're not going in a direction, so whatever is happening to you is whatever you get. You're not choosing it. If you pick a path and you walk that path, you will be shown things. Things will be given to you. Things will fall in front of you. Like you can't really see beyond the step you're in. But as you take a step forward, you will see more. As you take a step forward, you will see more. But that only happens when it's the same, like if you're walking in the forest, you have to pick a path. You can't just could you meander throughout the forest? Yeah, but you're going to get lost.
Right.
That's what's going to happen. You're going to get lost. That's what I think the danger is of not making a decision, not deciding on a path. Even if you end up changing the path later, pick one. Pick a path. Pick an outcome.
I agree, but what I think too is part of not picking a path is giving yourself an out when the thing that you really secretly want might not happen because it might be a really big goal that you're not sure if you can actually get.
Oh, totally. That's a really good point. So yeah, so you don't choose, and therefore you can't say that you lost or that you failed.
Right. You can say, well, I was sort of going for that, but I also really want this thing too. So if that one doesn't work out, then, I didn't fail because it just didn't work out that way.
Right. So if you pursue 5 things, then whatever works out, it doesn't look like you failed. It doesn't look like I can totally see that. So it's really the avoiding failure. So not deciding is really avoiding failure.
It is.
In a lot of ways. I've talked to musicians before, and I think you have too, who've said, I really want to be a soloist.
I talked to you. I remember you. That's what you said.
That's what I said years ago, like a long time ago.
Yeah.
I really, if I'm going to do anything, it's going to be solo. It's going to be chamber. That's what I said. I said I would do solo or chamber, either one of those. I never wanted to be an orchestra, not one time. That was never my goal. And I knew how stupid that was in a lot of ways. Like, what, you know what I mean? It was just, back then it was, how the hell am I going to, I don't know, make a life if I am not going to if I'm not going to audition for orchestras? How am I going to make a life? I couldn't see that at all. And so that's why, I ended up quitting, was because of that. I couldn't see how that was going to turn out. So, And of course, it's a very different world today. I mean, there's so much, social media didn't exist, blah, blah, blah. There was no way to promote yourself. That didn't exist. But it's interesting because every once in a while you talk to a musician and they'll tell you 4 or 5 things they're interested in. And then they'll go, and, really my, ultimate dream would be to be a soloist. And then they go, and then they give you all these reasons why that probably won't work out so they don't. So that could be their ultimate goal, but they never actually go for it.
Right.
They never actually pursue that as if that's their goal.
That's true. But let's be clear about being a soloist and you know this just because you considered the path. It's really hard. If you're not a violinist or a pianist, really, there aren't that many. If you look at any orchestra season and who's getting hired to do solo, it's violinists and pianists.
Well, and here's the thing: you have to read. But here's what I would say about you're right. And here's what I would say about that. I think that classical musicians have to redefine what being a soloist looks like.
Yes.
Look, that's what we're talking about here is redefining careers. Well, then let's redefine that career, because up to this point, what it's looked like is you stand in front of an orchestra and you play their standard repertoire. And, if you're an oboe, you always play the things that oboes play. If you're a flute player, you always play the chaminade, of course, you're going to play the concertino, right? If you're a horn player, what is it? Mozart
or Strauss.
Yeah. If you're a clarinetist, it's Mozart or von Weber.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. And so I think that the biggest, that's what has to be redefined. It's not, you don't have to go back into the same genre and do the same thing. You can actually redefine the career, but you actually would have to redefine the career.
So here, I've seen a lot of this going on, just from watching what's going on and also from some people that I'm interviewing. But there's one woman in particular who's a composer named Caroline Shaw, and I'm hoping to get her on. But she is sort of redefining it because she writes music and she writes it and she says, this is a violin concerto that I wrote for myself, and then she gets hired to play. I mean, I'm not sure if she exactly said that, but this is what's happening. They're playing a violin concerto, and she's the soloist, right? So she's like, I don't know how she negotiates it. Like, she doesn't just have a piece and give it to them and then they hire their soloist. Like, they hire her and she plays, which is really kind of cool. And it's redefining it for sure, because it's like, I'm coming and I have a piece I'm playing,
Right.
So that's a way to redefine it. Not to say that you can only redefine it by writing your own piece, but that's one way that people have done it.
Okay, so let's play with this for a second. So let's say that you right now were being charged with, just for giggles, right? You, hey Tracy, you have to, for the next 3 months, you need to carve out a solo career for yourself. What would you do? I'm just curious.
Wow.
Have you ever seen that show? You know what this reminds me of? Have you ever seen that show, what's it called? 30 Days?
No.
Oh, so it's not on anymore, but it was on, for a few years. It was, or maybe less, I can't remember, but is this guy Morgan Spurlock? You know who that is? Morgan Spurlock?
I've heard of him.
Okay, so he's the guy, he's the Super Size Me guy. So he's the guy who
oh yes. You know
what I'm talking about? So like he spent 30 days eating McDonald's.
Yeah. And
he had that thing where every time they asked him to supersize the meal, he had to say yes. You remember this?
Yeah. I remember. I saw that movie. It was great.
It was great. And then, of course, what happened to him over the 30 days and what a mess he was at the end of it.
Yes.
But so then after that, though, he had a series on TV where he spent 30 days being on welfare. He spent 30 days in different, like one time in jail. He spent 30 days, like seriously, he spent 30 days doing
different things.
Different things. So that's what I'm saying to you is like, okay, so let's say that I took you out of your life for 30 days and you had to, or sorry, for 3 months, because you need longer than 30 days. But I mean, it could be, I don't really care what the time frame is. Let's say you could say it's 30 days, you could say it's 3 months. I think it just takes a little bit longer for what we're talking about here. But if you had to carve out a career for yourself as a soloist and you play horn, notice I didn't say horn soloist. I said you want to be a soloist.
I know my answer. I know my answer.
What would you do?
Okay. So I've always thought that it would be cool to mix one of my favorite genres is down tempo. Do you know that genre?
Yeah, I do.
So I just think it's a really cool genre. Mm-hmm. And I know that they a lot of times DJs will mix stuff and then there'll be instrumentalists together at the same time. And I always thought that would be a really cool thing to mix with classical. So I would want to figure out how I could create like a down tempo concert with like a DJ and myself as some kind of integral part. So maybe I would have to commission somebody to create a whole program for me.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to do this now. No, just kidding.
Why not? I mean, seriously, you can do it.
I know.
You can
It would be really... I would love to friggin' do this. I mean, when I first discovered this genre, it was through a boyfriend, actually, an ex-boyfriend who really liked it. And I just remember thinking, wow, this is music that makes you feel cool. Like if you're in a nice restaurant, like a cool new restaurant, and you're drinking an amazing wine and this music is on, you suddenly feel like the chicest, most awesome city person that there is. So
okay.
So that's what I would do. And I would create a program. And then I suppose the next step would probably be to try and find out who would want to put me on their stage, or maybe it could be with orchestra backup. So it could be like some kind of pops concert. But yeah, I think that would be cool.
It would be cool. Okay. Is this something that you could do instead of doing it in a orchestra setting, that you could do it like in a club?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
or a bar or something like that.
Yeah, and it could, instead of being a full orchestra, there could be like a string quartet and horn and a DJ and drum set or something. You know,
like I'm thinking about my the night show with Jimmy Fallon. You know how he's got that band.
Yeah.
Could it be something like that where he's got the guitar, he's got the bass player, he's got the percussionist, he's got the saxophone, he's got, right?
Yes. And what's really all the rage now too is you don't need to find a stage or someone who will let you have their stage. You can always rent a space. Mm-hmm. And then, you have to sell tickets, and then sort of like what we were talking about last time on Audition X Factor, like you create yourself a concert, you think it's awesome, you start getting on the phone and telling people about it and saying, hey, this concert is really amazing and it's $150 a seat, but look, there's a cheese and wine tasting beforehand.
Yeah.
And afterwards there's dessert. And it's being put on by these French, this up and coming French, pastry chef, and these people, the sommelier I know, and like make it
actually that's really good, because like an up and coming French chef would probably love to showcase their food at that thing. Maybe you can pay them a fee to do that. Maybe there's a like you said, like a sommelier who does the wine. I mean, there's any number of things that there's so many cool things that you could do. And here's the other the other thing too. You could as far as getting butts and seats, you can use I know that you're playing around with some software over there, like you were trying to do little snippets of our, I don't know if it's still working or not, but you were doing snippets of our talks or snippets of you were doing that, right?
Yeah.
So you could do, maybe there's and I'm sure there's a software where you can release videos or snippets of the music to get people to come,
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And
online, like social media. Mm-hmm.
You kind of create a buzz around the event.
And you could make a documentary out of it, meaning you could document your process from, and look, I mean, what did everybody love about that show 30 Days, which it's not on anymore, but what everybody loved about it and why there was such a buzz about it at the time was you got to watch this guy go through the process of his 30 days. I mean, and you got to watch
documentation.
Yeah, I mean, it was the documentation everybody loved. That's what everybody loves about reality TV. I mean, even though it's not reality, you're only seeing pieces of it, but it's still it's still real life people saying real life things.
Oh, totally. So like you're saying, here I am. I'm not a soloist yet, but I'm proclaiming that in the next 3 months I'm going to become a soloist.
Yeah,
So
like at the end of 3 months, I'm going to have this outcome. I'm going to have a concert. I'm going to have 100 people in the seats. I'm going to, like you make a really simple outcome, and then you spend the entire 3 months putting it together and documenting the whole thing. You think people aren't going to watch that? Crazy. Yes, they will. They will absolutely watch it.
yes, and people will share it, and then who knows? Who knows what would happen after that?
Totally. And that's what's really interesting about this is, what we just talked about. First of all, it came out because we talked about it, because I asked you, because I put an idea in front of you, and then and I gave you that example of Morgan Spurlock, and then all of a sudden you came, okay, this is what I would do. Like, you knew exactly what you would do. I think everybody has this. I think everybody has what do I want to say? This mechanism of being able to create something unique that's never been done before, and that's what's for me is missing in classical music, is that nobody's doing that. Everybody's basically following what they've been taught, what they've been told. And listen, I did the same thing, but I think that's what's missing. This whole thing that we just did.
Oh, absolutely. And this was so much fun. First of all, just dreaming about what's possible was so much fun. And I can tell you another reason why people probably don't do it is because when they talk to other people, first of all, they're going to be afraid the person's going to say, that's stupid. You're never going to be able to do it. Who's going to come? How are you going to be able to do that? I mean, people don't even know what down tempo is. I mean, who's going to write music for that? I mean, do you even know how to play horn with that? Like, what are you talking about? Like, there's going to be people that are naysayers telling you that can't work.
Yep.
You'd have to have money first in order to rent the space, and you don't have that. Or there's going to be a million reasons why not, and there's going to be a million people to tell you why you can't.
It's true. Yep.
Which sucks.
Yep. But that's a reality of trying something new and doing something new.
It's true. And as long as you can find someone who you can chat about it with, like, it's sort of like, I always bring up Giacomo, but he told me on the very first #1 podcast that I ever did, that they were dreaming about New Deco Ensemble for like 5 years before they did it, because they were just thinking about, wow, wouldn't it be cool if we had an ensemble and we put on these events and it was like this crossover genres, chamber music, all this cool stuff. And they were just like, they were revving it up like, that would be awesome. And then what if we did this? Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
And then his partner ended up getting really into composing, and then he went a conducting route. And like a few years later, it came true, like, because they moved toward it.
That makes sense. Well, and that's interesting too. I think you've got to find what I'm going to call your crew. It could be it could be one person, it could be two people, but you got to find your crew. I think about Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs didn't make Apple until he got together with the other guy. What the heck's his name again? His partner, I forgot his name. Wozniak. He didn't, Apple Computer didn't become Apple Computer until the two of them got together.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
I mean, Steve Jobs, obviously, he's a genius. He certainly had an idea for something, but, it was the gelling of those two minds that really made Apple Computer become anything initially. True story. Yeah, totally. Wozniak is his name. Steve Wozniak is the guy's name. He's brilliant. He's completely brilliant. But there was two brilliant people that created it. I think you got to have your crew. I think even Giacomo had that. Giacomo didn't come up with it by himself. He came up with it with somebody else. So I think collaboration's a big part of it.
Huge.
I think it's a huge part of it. So, I also think that this is what I like too about pursuing one thing. By the way, it's not to say that you should exclude, look, you have to make money. I understand that. I'm not saying you shouldn't make money. I'm not saying that you should ignore your responsibilities. None of that. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying that make money in something that is inconsequent, like something inconsequential. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the thing that you ultimately want to do, but pick a direction and use whatever money you make doing that other thing toward the thing you actually want to be doing. I think that's what is really missing in I think so much of classical music is people are not deciding what they want to do. They're falling into what the framework is already providing. There's already orchestras, there's already university teaching jobs, there's already band director jobs. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
There's a framework that's already existing. There's choir, there's high school choirs, and Ken's going to be on the podcast coming up, but Ken was a choir director, that, like in a middle school and then in a high school. All those positions exist. Like there's a framework that currently exists for classical music, and it's actually the framework that is keeping you from doing something outside the framework.
Right. It's almost like this unwritten rule that you can't, because no one ever brought it up. It's not that you just wouldn't even think of it. I wouldn't have.
Yeah, totally. Well, yeah, because you wouldn't have. I mean, even now, like if I hadn't have, when I just asked you about that solo deal,
yeah,
had you ever considered that or thought about that before? Had it like crossed your mind at any time?
I thought about a concert sort of like that, but I never put myself on the stage. I didn't think, I thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool if someone did that?
Wouldn't it be cool if someone else did that? Yep.
Right.
Right. And I think that's a really good point you're making. At some point you have to decide it's going to be you.
Yes.
There's a lot of waiting around for somebody else to change it. Someone else is going to change classical music. Someone else is going to make it relevant. No, actually that's not going to happen. It's going to be you, or it's going to be nobody.
Because it has to be you, and it has to be you and a lot of other people as well.
Yep.
Until there's a lot of people doing it, until everyone thinks of their career as a possibility that they can work within that framework we were talking about, and or it's like an and or, you can do both, and you can do only this route as well.
I also think, how do I say this? I think about black violin. I saw all the documenting you did when you were at the concert the other night. And I think about some of the other groups that you've interviewed, on your podcast in particular. And it's really interesting because when I know you've had some conversations recently with people who are like, I love the classic genre. I love, I love Mozart, and, they're very, what's the word?
Purist.
Yes, that's the word. Purist.
You know what? Dovin's a purist, my husband. He really is. And
I know.
I'm chiseling away at him, and actually,
how's it working? How's it going?
it's starting to work, because he's just really like, I love Shostakovich. I love it. It's awesome. It's awesome music. And I'm like, hey, I'm not saying it's not awesome music. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff that's awesome too. And if you can speak more the language of the people who are coming, who might be, they might be blown away by Shostakovich, and they also might be blown away by something that you say, hey, you know what? Here's a story about a guy that I saw play a jazz concert last week in Chapel Hill, wrote this piece for Brooklyn Rider, and we're going to play it. And we're going to do what Brooklyn Rider did, which is add a drum set to it. What do you think of that? And they're going to say, I never saw a string quartet with a drum set before. Like, that's really killer. Do something different.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is I think part of me, I have a real fight with this, because it's not that I don't love standard repertoire. I do. I think a lot of it is really great. And I understand humanity, and I understand the audience, and I understand what they like today. And the standard repertoire is, you can tell me it's awesome all day long, and that's not going to change the culture that we live in today.
Exactly. I think a really good question to ask is, okay, so you might wow an audience for one time. They might go, "Oh yeah, I loved to hear that Shostakovich," and then they go on with their lives, And are they going to buy a CD of Shostakovich tomorrow? Are they going to download it on iTunes? Maybe not. Maybe, but probably not. But like, if you're saying, "Look, we are committed to playing stuff that that you might actually want to listen to in your house like on a regular basis,"
Yep.
or we're going to play for you your favorite Radiohead music next week. Like coming out on Tuesday actually is my interview with the two record label guys who have started this string quartet project called the Vitamin String Quartet.
Oh yeah, you told me about them. Yeah, that sounds awesome.
So cool because they're not a string, like I thought when I contacted them originally, I thought they were a string quartet that existed, created themselves, existed, and then got arrangements of all this pop music and did it. But that's not what happened. It was these record guys created a project where they wanted to create recordings of tribute albums. The first one was Led Zeppelin, all string quartet. And then they did like a bunch of Queen music and they did tons and tons of stuff and made recordings of it. And they made like wedding, like you could have it for your wedding. Like you could buy this like mixtape essentially.
I didn't realize. So did they do, because I think you said in a post recently they did they started creating sheet music?
Yeah. Now they have sheet music too.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, so they've created this thing where, and not only are they like employing multiple musicians in the LA area to do these recording projects, but then they're also putting out the sheet music for people to buy. So, any string quartet in the country can go and buy some Radiohead music, or I don't know exactly, their whole collection isn't on sheet music yet, but I think they really should because, I mean, a lot of times, if you're a string quartet and you play at a wedding and it's someone who's not necessarily a classical musician, they're going to say, "Hey, can you play Coldplay? Can you play Yellow? Can you play?"
I'm completely fascinated by the business model and how they put it together. Of course, the nerd in me.
Yeah, I think it's phenomenal.
How they got started, because that's really, I can't wait to hear that. That'll be great to hear that episode.
Yeah, they were an existing record label. They've been around for a long time, and actually their country, it's CMR. Wait, I have to look at country music. CML.
So they had, do they have like staff writers already that created arrangements? Is that how that worked?
They just sought them out per project. So they would get people from all over.
So they contracted people.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, and then they would have these studio recordings, and they would, master them. Because I listened to some of the Led Zeppelin one on iTunes because I wanted to hear. Because I was a big Led Zeppelin fan in high school. I had all their albums and stuff, and I wanted to hear what it sounded like. And they did some cool electronic tweaking to make it sound a little more heavy metal or whatever. I mean, I don't know if Led Zeppelin's really had, they're classic rock, but they got a little bit intense with like electric guitar stuff and. So that might not exactly translate with string quartet. So they did some, some mastering of that to make it sound cool and
that's
not
really
dorky.
Cool.
Because a lot of times this stuff can be dorky. Like it's got to be done well too. But I think, where David's coming from is that his mom brought him up in a classical music house and he just went with it. His brother is more like me. Like he went and found, his own pop music and stuff that he wanted to listen to. And he's really into playing, learning improvisation on the cello. In fact, he's taking improv lessons on the cello and learning arranging. Yeah, he's doing all this stuff on his own because he just thinks it's fun. And he has videos up on YouTube of himself playing like, what song does he have on there? I think he has.
That's so cool that he's doing that.
Yeah, he loves it.
You know what's cool about that? You know what I think is so great is that I don't know about you, but I never felt like that was, what's the word? This is just, it's such a different time now. When I was coming up, I didn't feel like there was, what's the word? Room for that? That there was, you know what I'm saying? Like it was there's this one way of playing and maybe it was just my teachers. I think maybe it was just my teachers. There's this one way of playing, and this is how you're going to play, and this is the right way to play. And for them, there's a right way to play and a wrong way to play.
Oh, very much so. And the repertoire, this is the repertoire you play.
Right. Exactly.
I remember there was a horn player at IU who was taking the jazz class. And I was like, that's weird. And then I asked him about it, and he was like, yeah, it's really hard. You have to learn all these modes and scale modes and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I don't think I want to do more work.
I don't think I want to do more work than I'm trying to become a great player. I don't want to learn any more freaking scales and arpeggios and crap.
Right. Not that probably would have made me a far better player, but I didn't have that perspective.
No, I get it. I know. I get it.
That's the problem with school too, is that there's so much pressure to get certain things done that you don't look at learning as a thing that actually enriches your life. You just look at it as like someone's making you do something.
Yeah, there's some obstacle that you have to cross like that's what learning looked like for me in college. Oh,
me too. Now I look back and I'm like, oh, I was glad at the time that I tested out of Spanish, and now I wish that I was fluent in Spanish.
Now you're like, I got to take, what is it called? What's that program called with the...
Oh, yeah, like, what are they called? There's Pimsleur or...
Yeah. Yeah. The programs where you can, now you can take foreign language as an adult and spend like $100 or something on the course.
And another thing I could have done at school is I could have audited the course. I could have done it without taking the tests. I think you're allowed to do that, or make the tests not count against your, no one suggested that either. Why aren't there people? Maybe there are people and I didn't know who they were, but it says, hey, listen, I'm older than you. You're 19, and maybe when you're 40, you're going to wish you spoke Spanish, and you already took 4 years in high school with a great teacher. So why don't you keep going?
I know, like they should do, I think there should be a university that should do, a pilot program where they bring in 40 plus year old musicians to mentor, the 18-year-olds that are coming into college.
Yes. And say, look, you're going to wish this, you're going to wish that. Hey, you know what? Take a wine tasting class. Take
Exactly. Hey, dude, take a marketing class. You might actually need this. Hey, dude, take a class on sales. You might actually need this at some point in your life.
Right.
And actually you will need this at some point in your life. Because if you think about it, that whole thing about you, let's say, doing down tempo and being a soloist, that whole thing requires you to enroll people and sell people and get people to say yes to a lot of things. That's a lot of yeses you got to get.
Yes. Okay, so I just heard you say a word and I want you to explain it. Enroll.
So the one thing that you have to, let me make it really simple for you.
Okay.
If you want things in your life, tangible things, you have to get them from other human beings. You have to get them from other human beings. So look, if you want, happiness does not count. That's not tangible. Success does not count. That's not tangible. I'm talking tangible things. If you want a carpet, like I'm sitting in my home office right now and there's a carpet on the floor, I had to go to a store and talk to a human being and buy this carpet. I have a foot rest that I use when I'm writing and working. I had to go and I had to get this thing, electricity. I had to talk to somebody to get electricity. All these things that I have in my home, I had to get from another human being. And that's what everyone has to realize. Everything you want is on the other side of a conversation with a human being. So you have to learn. And by the way, there does not necessarily have to be a money exchange for that. I think a lot of people think, oh, Eileen, of course, you went to the store and you paid for the carpet and whatever. Yeah, but here's the thing. There are ineffective ways of doing that. There's effective ways of doing that. Let's take the money out of it. I could have gotten this carpet. Now, maybe not this particular carpet, but I could have gotten a rug or something from somebody without paying for it. It's actually possible to get things without paying for them. Now, I'm not saying don't pay for things. What I'm saying is Everything you want is on the other side of enrolling somebody in it. So let's take your solo example for a minute. Let's say that you're starting out. Let's say that you decide that you're going to do your solo gig, your soloist down tempo thing. Let's say we put a budget on it. Let's say you're going to spend no more than $300.
Okay.
I'm just making this up. Let's say you're going to. Okay. So now you have to think differently and much more strategically about how you're going to get that done because your only budget is $300.
Yep.
Okay, so what if the hall costs, I don't know, $500? Okay, so maybe you can't use that venue. Maybe you have to pick another venue. Or maybe you can get that venue, but there's a conversation. It's on the other side of some conversation you need to have where you make a promise in the future. Like if I can get 100 people to buy tickets, you'll give me the hall for free.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It's like enrolling somebody. There's so much that goes in, but you got to understand the concept of it, which is you can get a human being to do anything, but you actually have to learn how to get human beings to do things. If you want things in your life, you have to become effective at getting people to do things. That's what enrollment is. That's what enrolling somebody is. It's enrolling them in something that you want, that,
yes,
that they think would be amazing, that you think is amazing. It's getting them basically on your side. It's getting them to be on your team. That's what it is.
Exactly. So that's like the example, like I said, I could get an up and coming French pastry chef. Like This is a person maybe that who just graduated from culinary school and they don't have a job yet.
Yep.
And this could be exposure, and they can have business cards and information about how they can get in touch with them in the future for parties or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe you say to the French pastry chef, "Hey, listen, if you come and do your wine and cheese and pastry thing for me at this event, first of all, I promise I'm going to have 100 people there, and if I don't, I'll pay you $100 for the gig." I'm making this up. But if I do have 100 people there, you can also, while you're there, you can solicit. So you can put all this stuff out, but you can go and talk to each person and you can solicit. Like you can solicit business from the crowd that I bring.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So that's a benefit for them. Like part of enrolling people is understanding they have things they want. It's not just about what you want. It's about what they want. So you have to get interested in what they want so you know what to enroll them in and how to enroll them. This is a skill. This is a life skill. I mean, you have to give a crap about what other people want if you want to enroll them. You have to actually get interested in that.
And in giving a shit about what other people want, you actually end up getting what you want.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's not putting what you want first.
Yep.
And
so this is what I want. And here's the thing. This is what stops everybody, though. They go, well, I can't do it because I don't have money. But the reason they can't do it because they don't have money is because they don't have enrollment. Like they don't know how to enroll people. So they're lacking a skill and they're lacking money, both. So they're saying no to both. They're saying, well, I don't know how to have those conversations and I don't have money, so I'm just not going to do it. And the fact that anyone is stopping there is actually the problem. That's why your life doesn't get created. That's why you don't go in a direction you want to go. That's why you don't get what you want. That is why human beings never really truly get what they want in their lives, because it's on the other side of money or enrollment. And if they don't have one or both, they're like, screw it. Hands up in the air. I'm not going to do it.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really simple when you look at it like that.
It's very simple. And so, enrollment is the first step to selling. So selling is when you can, a money exchange. Selling means you go to a person, you have them make a decision about something, and they give you money in exchange for whatever that thing is you're giving them. It could be advice, which is intangible. It could be a product, which is tangible. I mean, learning how to sell, but you got to see, like, if if you were creating this down tempo solo thing, let's say that you were doing this, the first step would be enrollment, so putting the whole thing together. The second step would be sales, which is selling tickets. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
So it's actually a beautiful thing, because the first thing you're going to screw it up 100 times while you're putting it together. You're going to ask the wrong pastry chef, or you're going to ask a real snooty one that's going to go, I can't believe you're not going to pay me. And like, you're going to have interactions that aren't going to work. And you're going to go home with your tail between your legs and go, well, that sucked. And then you're going to get up the next day and do it again. This is what acquiring skill looks like. This is what you did when you were learning an instrument. You got really good at the instrument, but you had bad days. You had many, many bad playing days. You had many bad performance days. You had bad practice days. That's how this works. That's how enrollment works. You're going to have many bad conversations, or many conversations that don't work, and you're going to go home and reassess it, just like you did with your playing. And then you're going to go back out there and do it again. That's what acquiring a skill looks like. You've got to actually be willing, though, to learn a skill outside playing. Like, your life, the one that you want, is on the other side of having enrollment conversations, doing something unique, create, sales. So being able to sell something that people give you money for. This is all part of creating a career. It's not enough to be a player. That's my point.
Oh my God, totally. And I, as you were talking, I was thinking about, I think the reason, that you feel so, worried about getting going with a new skill, like what you're describing, like when something like that happens, and like you described, coming home with the tail between your legs, when we're learning our instrument, and you remember this, you're 10.
Yeah.
So, and the time it's so drawn out, like until you actually are supposed to be starting your career at age 22 or 25 or whatever it is. That's so many years of where you're removed from that beginning stage of, wow, this really, I don't even know how to do this thing. Like, from the time that you just learned, I remember the first time I found out I was supposed to use my tongue to make articulation. The band director was like, oh, you're not doing that. You got to do that. I was like, what? Oh, no one told me that part. That was like day 2. And like, that was when I was 10. So this is like stuff that happened so long ago. So by the time you get to the point where you're doing your career, you already know how to play your instrument, and you're fine-tuning things. And having learned a brand new skill that's totally new and you've never done it before is something you haven't done in a really long time. So it's natural you want to avoid it, I think.
Oh, totally.
So
it's totally natural to want to, and of course, once you get to be older, like we get to be, mid 30s and start to get to early 40, that's when you start to resist learning new things. And I understand that. And I'm definitely there. Like, I'm 42, and I definitely, doing new things is harder for me now. I have to say that for sure. I really try and remain open. I really, really try, but I don't always win that game. But the thing I would say to anybody listening to this call is that, a unique career, a truly unique career, a redefined classical music career, there's so much to it besides your playing. There's so much to it. It's your ability to interact, your ability to communicate, your ability to enroll, your ability to sell, your ability to market yourself, and especially living in being willing to be visible and document your own journey. I don't think you realize how much, and this is kind of embarrassing, what I'm going to say about our society, the voyeurism, everybody is, you don't realize how many people are sitting in the stands watching, and how much they would love to watch you if you gave them the opportunity.
Yeah. And the willingness to be visible, that makes me think of one thing that I have to mention here, and I'll probably mention it on some posts too.
Okay.
Do you know how many people I've seen like my posts, and then I go to see who they are, and their Instagram is private?
Oh my God. It's the most annoying thing in the world. A private account is the dumbest possible strategy, or lack thereof, that there is. If you have private accounts, you're blowing it. If you have a private account, blowing it.
Their bios, they're musicians. They're musicians, they're composers, they're people
Unbelievable.
who obviously you would think they would want to be seen.
Yeah.
And their account is private.
Yeah.
So
Private
if your
account.
account is private, go change it to not private.
Yeah. Hello. Let people see your shit. What's the problem? Like, if you've got, naked pictures of yourself in there, you may want to rethink your social media. But other than that, I mean, really, you know what I'm saying?
Oh my God, Eileen, this really gross naked picture came up on my feed yesterday. I reported it. It was disgusting.
No way. You're kidding.
Yeah. I won't tell you what it was, but no, I'll just tell you what it was. It was a male body part, and you can guess which one.
It showed up in your Facebook feed?
Yes, it was a guy being funny, getting it out and putting it in front of like it was in public, and there was like a picture of someone's face, and he got it out to make it look like he was putting it in their face.
Holy crap. What?
I reported it. I was like, look, that's gross. You're not supposed to put that on Instagram.
Yeah. And it's funny because I haven't seen anything like that come across my Facebook feed at all, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't. I mean, I'm sure it happens. It depends on who you follow too. I
know it wasn't anyone I followed. I was looking through the the thing where you can look and see like suggested or whatever. That's what I was looking through. Or maybe I was looking through hashtags. I can't remember, but it came up and I took a double take. I was like, is that really what I'm looking at right now? Is that possible? It's so weird.
Holy crap.
People are
no.
weird.
Well, I mean, but seriously, the private accounts, like that needs to die. Get rid of the private accounts. If your account's private, you completely are missing the point of social media, social profiles, because honestly, if it's private, just delete the account. If you're not willing to have it be public, just delete the account, period.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason. By the way, I want to know what you think about this. This doesn't seem to be a thing for you, but I've had moms, because you're a mom, so I've had moms say they don't want to post either pictures or they don't even want to say that they have kids or something like that because they're afraid of pedophiles and things like. What do you think about that where social media is concerned? I'm curious. Because that could be a real reason for people like, well, I've got family pictures in there and I don't want people to see my kids, right?
Yeah, well, I felt like that before. When I first had Violet, I didn't put any pictures up of her. I was kind of I was actually following some people I was subscribed to a couple email lists where it was a little bit fear-mongering about like your privacy and this and that. Mm-hmm. And I kind of shut things down. Like I didn't want to be on social and I was, but then now lately, I'm listening to some other people, some of the same people you watch too in the business world who are just like, look, we don't have privacy anymore. It doesn't exist. So like, if you think that by not posting pictures or keeping it, it's going to stay that way. And look, like, be smart about it. Don't post, like, I don't check in places. I don't say like, hey guys, I'm not home right now.
Hey guys, I'm not home. Come rob my house.
Woo-hoo. Yeah. Like, I don't like to put locations. And I mean, I did that when I was at Black Violin because, well, I wanted to tag the theater and stuff, but I don't check into a restaurant. I don't like, and there are pictures of my daughter on social media. And you know what? I check to see who's following me. And if they're creepy, I block them.
Right. That's not hard.
You can do that too.
Yeah, no, I get it. I just wanted to see how you handled it because I've heard people, because that could be an argument for people. Well, my account's private because, I have kids and I don't want people to see my kids. Yeah, I guess so. But then why have an account? I don't really...
You can also have two accounts. You can have an account for your composition or your instrument or your musicianship, and just switch back and forth. You can do it directly in the app. You can switch accounts.
That's true. I know. I've done that too.
If you want a private one and you just share that one with your family and you don't want anyone to see it, then do that.
Yeah, good call.
So, I've been putting a few pictures of my kid up because, I'm documenting right now, and this is part of my life,
Yeah.
and it's a
Plus,
huge part of my life.
plus, who
So,
doesn't want to see a 6-year-old eating a popsicle? Come on.
right? I know, and I thought, maybe it's too cute. It's like I'm getting cheap likes, from that.
Cheap likes. Yeah. Who's not going to like a picture of a kid eating a popsicle?
Well, that video I posted of Violet and David playing violin duets, it got like
yeah, didn't you get
3,000.
I was going to say, didn't you get like 1 million views on that?
It was over 3,000 views. It was crazy. Yeah.
Well, it was my favorite part of that. My favorite part of that video was the look on her face.
Yeah, like she was mad about something at the end. Like I think she played an extra note or something.
Yeah, she was mad about something. I was going to ask you what that was, actually.
Yeah, she like rolled her eyes, and
I
then
know
Bernie
she wears her emotions on her sleeve. Like you could totally tell she's.
She really does. Oh
She
my
really
God.
does. Yeah, she's going to be quite the 16-year-old. I can't wait to see that.
Oh Lord, please
Yeah,
don't tell
10
me.
years, man. 10 years.
I feel like she's already 16.
I know, right? Now she's telling you what clothes she'll wear and not wear. What's babyish?
Oh, she's like, this is my style.
This is my style.
Yeah.
Well, I guess those other clothes are going to go to Goodwill then.
Yeah.
The ones that you thought were really cute,
Yeah.
those are going away.
Yeah. She's like, she'll tell me if something's too babyish to wear.
Is that the word she uses, babyish?
Yeah. Actually, that's kind of why she doesn't really like to play the violin, honestly. She hears, she's been hearing students in our house and David for her whole life play the violin. And now she's starting on the same note going, Mississippi hot dog, Mississippi. She's like, fuck this.
Really? Is that what it is? Do you think that's what it is?
Yeah, she's like, that's babyish, but she can get on the piano and play chords and she makes up songs and she, at her lessons, she improvises and she has a really fun time doing it and she practices, but the violin she won't take up. Yeah.
I get that now. So for her, the violin seems babyish because she knows what, great violin playing sounds like. So she thinks that what she's doing is babyish, so she's automatically rejecting it.
Yeah. Yeah, she doesn't want to start from square one with that playing like Twinkle Twinkle on one string. She wants to play chords. She wants to play with two hands and she wants to use Yes, exactly. And she likes the pedals cuz that makes it ring, so it sounds beautiful cuz it's lasting longer.
Sure, and then of course she doesn't have anything to compare the piano to.
That's true, because if she's comparing to how I'm playing, she's definitely winning.
Yeah, she's definitely winning, right? Yeah, piano class didn't do you any favors, apparently. It didn't do me any.
6 semesters, baby. 6 semesters.
Yeah, they tried to teach me piano, but I was like, whatever. Not learning. Thanks anyway.
I scraped through. I got that proficiency test nailed.
Yeah, I have all kinds of sour words for piano. However,
I literally remember the day I passed that test. I can remember exactly that day. Like, how many days do you remember of your life? Yeah. I remember that day.
I remember skating by with a C- and just going, thank God. I mean, right, and I honestly think that he gave me the C- just to get me out of his class. That's really what I think. I really think that.
Get out of here.
Get out of my class. One more thing before we end. So I have to tell you this. So did I tell you that when I was at Interlochen, we had piano? That's where I first started taking piano class, by the way. Did you know? Did I tell you that?
Were you in Jules' class?
I was not. Oh, you mean her graduating class? Yes.
Yeah, no, yeah. But were you in your... Oh, no, she can play piano already.
Yeah, right? Yeah, she was a good pianist. But, she was at Interlochen at the same time. She was in the same graduating class as me. However...
Yeah.
So, do you know what we used to do? We used to have piano class was the last hour of the day. It was 9th hour or whatever, how many hours were in the day, right? 9th hour. And it was at, like 4:00, I think. And it was at a dorm. It was at one of the guys' dorms. It was in the basement because there were a lot of pianos. There were a lot of practice rooms with a lot of pianos in this basement. Uh-huh. And so we would go there, but the problem was that Matlock was on at 4:00. So what I would do, I kid you not. So what I would do is I would check into piano class, and as soon as he checked in with me and we figured out what I was going to do for the day, he would go make his rounds around the thing. And as soon as he went into the next room, I ran upstairs and I watched Matlock. True story. I swear to God.
And when did you come back down? And like, how did you get away with that?
So I would, every once in a while, I would come back down and he'd sort of tip his head like, where were you? And I said, oh, I just went to the bathroom. And he's like, okay. Like, it was BS. I was not in the bathroom. I was watching Matlock.
Oh my God,
True
that's
story.
Hilarious.
For an entire
Matlock.
semester. Oh yeah, and what was really funny is all the guys, like there was a whole group of guys that would be there at 4:00 for Matlock. There were probably a good 10 or 12 guys that would show up for Matlock. And you know the theme song to Matlock?
No.
You got to listen to it online. It's hilarious. And we would all sing it together. We would all sing. So part of the challenge for me was being there for the sing along before, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I had to so I would get to piano class early to check in with the teacher so I could run upstairs and be part of the sing along. I'm not even kidding.
Gosh.
True story.
That is hilarious. Well, I have a little more embarrassing of a story of TV and group piano. Actually, my freshman year group piano went until like 12:45 or something.
Okay.
And I was addicted to All My Children, the soap opera.
No way.
Yeah, I was. And so I would run back from my class to get to my dorm in time for the last clincher, you know, the last it was like 8 minutes left.
Are you serious?
Yes, I would run. I would run.
But then you missed all the story. I guess it doesn't really matter though if you get the clincher.
Oh, and totally, like, I learned that. Like, it doesn't matter. You still know what's going on. You don't even have to watch the whole show.
Wow. Wow, this is back when, I don't know, they had VCR. Could we record shows back then?
I don't think I'm sure we had VCRs. I didn't have a VCR in my room, though. We didn't have one.
Sure,
we just had a TV.
Yeah. They were really expensive back then, I think.
I think so, because I remember that my parents got one like a couple years after they were invented. I'm like, can we get a freaking VCR? Yeah, we had to wait. So we didn't get a VCR right away, but so I didn't have one in my room. I just remember having a really small TV. I know it was color. Yeah, it was color.
It was color. I think it was color.
It was color. Oh my God, how embarrassing!
I know, right? Can we date ourselves a little bit more? You know, me with Matlock and you with, you know.
I think I had a color TV in my room, Eileen. Can you imagine?
Was this at IU?
This was at U of I, my freshman year.
Your freshman year, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and I took group piano that year and learned nothing. So that when I transferred to IU, and I tried to, they tested me to see what class I would be in. They're like, yeah, you have to start over.
Damn, you know, I'll tell you what though, as an adult now, I think it'd be super fun to learn piano. Like I'm actually more interested in learning piano now than I ever was way back then, 20 years ago.
I agree.
It would be so much fun to learn it now.
I know. I watch my daughter's lessons and I'm like, I love that she can, you know, play these little tunes along. So she plays like these accompaniments and Violet plays this melody part, and it's just really, it's cool. Mm-hmm. I wish I could do it.
It is cool. I think piano is a really great skill for people. Just at the time, you know, when you tell somebody, hey, you know, I know you've been playing this instrument for 12 years, but here, we're going to add this instrument. It's like, I'm sorry. What did you just say? I just spent a really long time learning that instrument. Don't tell me that you're going to give me another one now.
Yeah, I know. And you know what? For me at the time going into college, I was just like, all right, I want to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then here's someone telling me what I have to do. That's not what I want to do.
Yeah, I mean, college occurred like freedom at that point because you weren't, you know, you didn't have that regimented school day anymore. You know, you were going to go into, you know what I mean? Like suddenly you had some freedom in your day.
Yeah, exactly. You could actually you could schedule your classes, you know, sometimes where your first class wasn't even until 12:30 or 1. Like that was the best when you could do that.
True. Yeah, and for me, I'd just be practicing all morning.
Yeah, that's what I did. Yeah.
Well, I think we had a good fireside chat today.
This was a great fireside chat. Yes. And I'm going to get started on my down tempo concert. So,
oh my God, if you do that, I'd be stoked.
I'm kind of thinking about it now. Like, I know
you can totally
there's this woman who David has talked to about having a concert with the wine thing, and I don't know, maybe it's possible.
I don't know. I mean, think about it, because I think you could totally do it. And we could strategize the whole thing. And that's another thing. Let me just do a little quick plug. You know, if there's something you want to do and you don't know how to do it, or you don't know what to, how to get it set up, or you should do a hot seat. Seriously, you should do a hot seat. Hell, I mean, we could, if you wanted to, Tracy, no joke, we could do a hot seat for you. I mean, you could be the hot seat if you want, in the hot seat if you want to.
I'll do the hot seat for this exact project.
I mean, if you want to do it, yeah. I mean, if you're actually serious about doing it, yeah, then we might as well.
I think it'd be seriously fun.
Because I could help you figure it out.
Even if it was just one concert that I did too, like.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be more than one. You don't have to make it forever, but I think it would tell you something. I think that's what's cool about doing something one time, is it tells you something about whether or not you want to do it. Kind of like when you did Audition X Factor, you knew after the first one that you were done.
Totally.
But
what's kind of cool about this down-tempo idea is that it was born right here, like now.
Yeah.
And then we could document it. Like, I could actually really follow through that. And then we could
could document it. Oh my God. Do you know how cool that would be?
Okay, I think it's going to happen. I think that's what we're going to do.
Well, if you want to do it, let's schedule a hot seat, because we can, and that would be part of documenting it too, is actually talking about, okay, how am I going to execute this?
Let's do it. I'm done. I'm in. Really?
Awesome. Okay,
I'll do it in the summer, because I have lots of time in the summer to create an event. And what I got from yesterday, and I don't want to, this is going long, but I just want to mention that. So David had his community concert yesterday, which I documented on social. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check it out. And he did the string quartet, and there were food trucks. And the cool thing about it was that just everyone was stoked about the community hang, like lots of people from the neighborhood came, and there were kids, and people were just glad to get together, so a lot of times people just want to get out. And
especially on weekends.
Yeah. And when you create an event that has multiple things that people want, like
food, beer,
yeah,
music. Hey, by the way, where was the food? I didn't see anyone eating.
There was a food truck, and you would have loved it, honestly. They had barbecue chicken.
Oh, no way. I love barbecue. Oh.
The sauce was incredible, and they had
did they have
ribs? It's like a southern twist. And the reason why the woman who's helping put this thing on is really motivated to do this, because she's trying to create exposure for her chef, who was primarily the chef at the Saturday market, which she hosts every Saturday, but now he has a food truck. And so he's getting started with his food truck by having events up there just as a place to park, so he can, generate more people that know about his food truck as just traffic comes to the market and everything. And it's like a southern twist. You would love the food. It was like, there was a burger with pimento cheese, and there was like,
oh, yum,
vignettes and all this, lots of gluten that I wasn't going to eat, but
well, maybe, I don't know if pimento cheese has gluten, but I love pimento cheese.
It doesn't. It doesn't, I don't think.
So they just smear it on top of a burger? I'm in.
Yeah, that's what they did.
Oof, I'm in. I'm all over that.
It was Southern food. It was like decadent Southern food. It looked really good.
Oh, so you didn't have any?
I tried the chicken.
Okay. Was it good?
Oh, yeah, it was amazing. The barbecue sauce was the best part. It was so good.
Oh my
In fact,
God,
I'm going to ask him about getting it, because he makes everything from scratch. So I want to find out if you can buy the sauce, because we've bought his pickles and some other things that he sells at the market.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Yeah, so then a lot of people got exposure to his food.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, which is great for everyone. It's like a win-win for everyone. Like we're talking about with the enrolling, like, you want exposure for your thing and this and that and the other, and that's how it works. So,
and I mean, not that, again, I don't believe in just doing stuff for exposure. I just want to say that I don't, but I think exposure when you're first starting out, there's a lot of currency being in front of a crowd of people to find out about you. There's a lot of currency in that.
That's true. And
I
agree.
Do it forever, but you got to do it, to start sometimes and nobody knows about you.
Yeah. And you're right. Because a lot of times bars will say, hey, your band can play free here for exposure or whatever.
Yeah,
and that's BS.
I'm not a fan of that. I'll be honest. I'm not,
Right.
I'm really not. I think bands should get paid. I think musicians should get paid. I'm not knocking that, but I'm saying when you're first you got to get creative about how to make something work inside of a budget. And you can't, you cannot use money as an excuse for why you can't do something, because however much money you have, you have to use enrollment instead. Enrollment is currency. There is a way to get what you want without money. There is a way.
Yeah. And then you build on it. And then the next time you say, hey, I can pay you or whatever.
Exactly. And maybe it's future payment.
Yeah. Maybe putting your butt on the line.
Yeah. I mean, it's exactly right. I mean, you have to put your ass on the line if you're going to do that.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
which is what makes you get, nervous. But hey, sometimes
part of it, man. That's what an audition is. It's no different than auditioning.
Yep.
Same thing. Musicians are familiar with that. So
totally.
So there you have it. So we'll do a hot seat for you for the down tempo solo thing.
Okay. We'll do it. Awesome.
All right. Have a great day.
Have a great day. Thanks, Eileen. And if you guys love this series, if you love any of the series on Crushing Classical, please write a review on iTunes and come join the conversation at facebook.com/crushingclassical. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.